Hi, welcome to Miss Richardson's U.S. History 5-Minute Lectures. This information will be U.S. Notes 4.7, Causes of the Korean War. It includes information that aligns with the second section on your Unit 4 study guide. Now remember, you have control over the lecture, so pause whenever you need to. Use your study guide to help you figure out what you should be writing down. Write down questions and bring those to class if you have them, and rewatch anytime you need to. Let's go ahead and get started. In the last set of notes, I told you about what happened to Japan and China after World War II. Japan was put under U.S. military control, and China overthrew their own government and became communist, which was a failure of containment and the containment policy. So what role did the Soviet Union take in Asia during this time? That's an excellent question. Let's go ahead and answer that. Because the Soviet Union had agreed to help the U.S. in Asia, we had agreed to share some of the spoils of war with them. So when we won, we had agreed to split some things with them. So the two countries agreed to split control over some of the areas that Japan had taken over either earlier on or during World War II, because some of this had happened earlier. The one in particular we want to talk about today is Korea. At the end of World War II in 1945, the Koreans hoped that their country would be restored to an independent nation. So they wanted to be one country, one Korea, independent, control themselves. Instead, they were actually occupied by the Soviets and the Americans, leading to years of unrest, tension, and even today's two Koreas, North Korea and South Korea. So how'd this end up happening? Well, in 1945, when the war ended in Asia, the Soviets occupied the northern portion of Korea and the U.S. occupied the southern portion of Korea. They were split right here, so north, south. The two allies decided to simply split Korea along the 38th parallel, which is the 38th line of latitude, in order to create two zones. Where else in the world does this sound like something we did? Yeah. Germany. Didn't we do a similar thing in Germany? Yes, we did. Each side had total control over their zone, just like in Germany. This meant that in the north, a communist government developed, and in the south, a pro-U.S. government developed. These areas remained under military control by the respective allies, the U.S. and the Soviet Union, until 1949. By 1949, both the U.S. and the Soviet Union had essentially pulled their militaries out of the Koreas, leaving them independent with the governments they had helped create in charge. This, however, still didn't make the Koreans all happy, because they wanted to be one Korea, a unified independent country. So both sides, North and South, wanted to be one, but they wanted their government in charge of that one. So with the two different governments in place, we have conflicting economic systems and government beliefs. You can't peacefully unite. So in 1950, the North Korean forces, who were supported by the Chinese and Soviet Union through financially and with weapons and things like that, invaded the South in order to reunite Korea into one country. So they were going to forcefully reunite under North Korea rule. Of course, the U.S. was unwilling to allow the communism to spread, based on containment. So the U.S., backed by UN forces, supported the South in this war. So the U.S. convinced the UN to send troops and help out. We'll talk more about the war itself and the turning points in the Korean War in our next set of notes. So this is actually the end of U.S. Notes 4.7. Hopefully you learned something, and make sure if you have any questions, you ask those in class.